Okay, for this example, open up either your pyramid program or open up your robot. We're going to add a few useful methods that you can use for your graphics. The first one that's available is that we can set the application height. So if we want our applet to be a certain height and width, we can do that. We're going to create it with these lines: public static final integer application, and this is cap sensitive, I believe. And you just set it numerical value, which is going to tell you how many pixels wide it's going to be. I'm going to copy and paste this, and we're going to go with height. So you can customize that. Notice this is outside of the main menu, or excuse me, of the run out of the run method. So it's going to be something that we set up permanently before the program even runs. A couple other things we can add. We can set our background color if we wanted. Let's just simply set background. Any color you want that's web safe. Also, we added our pause menu, pause method before. We would have to use the keyword pause, then in parentheses our parameters would be how long we want items to wait before the next action takes place. We can make it, now we can have a pause based on user input, and that is a simple method called wait for click. And we don't need to add a parameter there because the parameter is just going to be the mouse click. So we should be set there. Also, one thing you can use, we have the add methods. We can also remove things. So we can remove, I think you can remove all, but in this case I'm going to remove a label. So if you're using your robot program, you might remove the nose because we're going to replace that with a circle. So we could, to do something like that, we would use the goval command, which creates a goval object. I'm going to call that my robot's nose, and that's equal to new goval. And in here we set the height and width. You have to, for the height and width, since it's a circle, try to picture it as being inside a bounding box. That box has a height and width, and that contains the circle. So that's why we're using an X and Y, or I should say 2 coordinates for the circle. We can set its color, object.method, nose.setColor. Color.blue. And a new method for some of you guys might be one that we can now fill in the color. We're going to fill it, so we're going to set it to set filled true. And another thing you can also do, another built-in method, is set size. So we can change the size of something after it's been created. And then last, we have to add it. Let's run and test. So when I run my applet, right now it started executing, but it's waiting for my click. I put that in there, it draws the rest. Okay, so notice if this were my robot, my nose is off a little bit to the side. So there's a method we could use to move that over. Also notice our application, the height and width didn't change the display within the applet viewer, but that'll be used, say, for bounding boxes, say if we wanted to establish what's out of bounds. So we'll come back to that in a little bit. But first, let's move that nose over some. Okay, and to move the nose over, we're going to use what's called the move command, the move method. So object.method, so nose.move, and we can specify the X and Y coordinates we want it to move, or how many pixels. So I might want to move it, let's say 20 pixels to the right. If I wanted to move it left, I would use -20. And I don't want to move it any farther down. So in this case, I'm going to add a 0 for that. Let's take a look, compile, run it. It's going to wait for click. I click, and it moved a little bit over. So I could move it progressively farther over. Now lastly, there's a couple more methods we could use. Say we wanted to create a 3D or give a sense of 3D, not in terms of graphics, but more of the z-index. We can specify if we have several graphical items, we can specify which one is in front. So we could do something like nose dot send to back. That would send it obviously to the back. We can do send to front, and we have two other methods such as send backwards, or we also have send forwards. So if you remember on our robot that we were drawing, if you looked at the graphics very closely, you notice that the body, the box bounding the body, you couldn't see its lines necessarily through the lines that bound it through the legs. So if we were to fill the legs, say, with the background color of white and then move those forward, we would be able to, excuse me, I have an extra S there, send forward. We would be able to position those according to the Z index.